decision without being properly informed. This is why this world wants to control the media. This is why media hype can take you up, take you down. So you don't know anymore who's really good, because the media can make a wicked man look good and make a good man look evil. That is why.
Yo, good evening everybody, and assalamu alaikum. You are watching a special edition of the Final Call News Hour. I am your host, Herman Muhammad. The Final Call News Hour is the partner of the Final Call newspaper and the Final Call online edition that you can visit at digital.finalcall.com. Again, I am your host, Herman Muhammad, and we're going to get right into it, y'all, because we have some exciting information that we want to share with you tonight. Tonight we're coming out of these two issues, volume number 35, number 5, which reads, Black Girls' Lives Must Matter. Another outrage as police officer slams black girl to the floor, but activists say black girls are targeted across the country, not just in South Carolina. The other issue that we're coming out of is volume number 35, issue number 6, which reads, Black Dollars Matter. While Black Friday can be America's economic weak spot in the demand for justice. Again, those are two very powerful issues of the Final Call newspaper. And the first article, and I just want to touch on it, and by now all of you have heard the story about this young girl and this officer whose name was Ben Fields in South Carolina, who yanked the little sister out of her desk. But it appears on page 3, and the article reads, Terrorism in the Classroom, and it's written by our brother Brian E. Muhammad, a staff writer, at the Final Call newspaper, who could be reached on Twitter at Global Peaks is his Twitter handle. South Carolina, Columbia. Disdain nationwide and protests in South Carolina were growing in the aftermath of viral video capturing a black high school girl brutally slammed to the floor and dragged across a classroom by a white deputy sheriff. And this was led by this story, of course, got huge media attention because of the children in the classroom videotaped it via their cell phone, as if these policemen don't already know that everything is always being recorded. But needless to say, this officer Ben Fields did his thing anyway, and so everybody knows this story. So I don't really want to go into the story that's in the Final Call. I would just suggest that you go to digital.finalcall and pick it up. But what I do want to do is I want to offer a little bit of commentary with regard to this whole situation, dealing with our girls, our children, and police brutality, and these all of the media attention that it gets. Now, it's a good thing. The social media, the cameras on the cell phones, they're all good things. But here's the problem, and bear with me on this one. During slavery and after slavery, during Reconstruction and during Jim Crow, the oppressor used to hold what they called at that time theater lynchings. It's interesting because the term picnic is derived from such a thing as theater lynchings. It was pick a nigga, go have some lunch, hang him, and then afterwards cut off his ear, cut off his nose, cut off his genitalia, whatever. Now, why am I saying this? because there's a new phenomenon going on in 2015 and beyond with theater lynching. But we really have not recognized it up to this point. But I think it's critical that we do. When you think about all of the atrocities that have taken place over the last few years that have been videotaped and broadcast, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray being dragged from dragged from the scene and thrown in the paddy wagon, Walter Scott being shot in the back, where we're actually seeing our people being murdered by the police, Oscar Grant being murdered on the train or at the BART station in Oakland. That was another example. And I say this because in most of these instances, the officers who did the murder, the murder was either justified, or something happened to where these people didn't receive any punishment for murdering these black children. So essentially, what has happened, and particularly with this case, with this young girl, and we don't even know her name, you know, she's being protected because she's a minor. But look at the image of this white man dragging our sister across the floor. And it was played on CNN like over and over and over and over again. Now, what I want to do, just to illustrate the point, is I want to play the video of what happened to our young sister by this officer, Ben Fields, who's supposed to be a security officer in the school. They call them, what's the name that they call them? Anyway, the children are supposed to be safe around these police deputies who are in the school. A resource officer is what they call them. That's the word, a resource officer. And they're supposed to make our children safe, but, you know, apparently this is not the case. But this imagery was shown again and again and again and again and again. And I want to show it just for the purpose, not of showing you what he does to her. What I want to illustrate is the response of the students who are around her. And notice, well, I'll just show the video and then I'll tell you what you should notice afterwards. But just watch the students. Don't watch her. Try and watch the students around her. And then I'll explain what I'm talking about.
Nobody get.
Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Disgusting. But I want you to notice that the children who witnessed that brutal act, first of all, let me say that no man should ever do this to a woman, especially not to one of our young girls. And this officer was nicknamed Officer Slam or some madness like that, and he put his hands on our little sister like that. And if it was my daughter, you wouldn't have to worry about justice being administered. But anyway, that's another subject. But what I wanted to say was, notice the students around, they didn't move. They hardly even flinched at the brutality with which this officer used to detain this little girl. Now, I'm saying that to say this is the same thing that they did to us during slavery. Whenever a slave ran away, or whenever a slave committed the ultimate offense of whatever it was that the white man didn't want him to do, they would make examples of that slave, but they would make sure that they did it in front of the women and the babies to put fear into them. And so what you're witnessing every time we see these officers do what they do and get away with it, and then they replay it and replay it, just like the officer who chokes Eric Garner in New York, puts him in that illegal chokehold. What you're witnessing is a theater lynching, because they go back to the station afterwards and they talk about it and they brag about it, and they just have a good old boy time with the way that they brutalized our people. And so we have to be very careful with what we're watching. We have to be careful with what we consume. We have to be careful with what we actually spread on social media, and just be cognizant that what you're actually spreading, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, is a theater lynching. That's my PSA for today. So don't spread them theater lynchings anymore. And that this leads to our next story, which appears on the next issue of the Final Call newspaper, which is entitled "Black Dollars Matter: Why Black Friday Can Be America's Economic Weak Spot in the Demand for Justice." And then right underneath it, it reads, "Black athletes join students, push boycott, and shut down University of Missouri officials." And this story, and you've all heard this story as well, but it's very important because it leads right into what I'm talking about. Deals with the University of Missouri and the racist practices that were going on there that the students were protesting to no avail. They have been having issues at the University of Missouri, these swastikas being painted on walls, racial epithets being thrown around, black students being called nigger every other day, and nothing was being done about it. So much so that one of the young students, he decided that he was going to go on a hunger strike until these injustices were dealt with, and the university president as well as the chancellor was fired. Well, they were going to let that young brother starve to death. I hate to tell you. They didn't really care about it. It was only when the University of Missouri football team, who said that they were not going to practice and they were not going to play until justice was served and the president and the chancellor were fired respectively, and here's the image of those young men, that it was within 32 hours that they fired the president and they fired the chancellor. They were going to let that little young brother starve to death. They didn't care about the students picketing and protesting. They didn't give a damn. It was only when these young men threatened the millions of dollars that the university makes off of football that, hey, they got what they wanted. So the moral of the story is black dollars do matter. Which leads me to my next thing. And I'm not even going to read the Final Call newspaper because I want you to go to Digital Final Call, digitalfinalcall.com and pick yours up. But what we're calling for in the city of Denver as well as nationwide is a boycott of all Christmas spending. It's called hashtag boycott Christmas, hashtag boycott Black Friday, hashtag redistribute the pain. And what we want to do is we are calling for an economic boycott of all holiday spending and Christmas spending from November 27th, which is Black Friday, all the way through the first of the year. And what we are aiming to do is we want to show our oppressors that it is not okay to do what they did to our young sister in South Carolina. It is not okay. And let me give you an image of some of the victims of this brutality that we are against. It is not okay to murder Aiyana Jones. It is not okay to murder Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Renisha McBride, Sandra Bland, Kendrick Johnson, Oscar Grant, Eric Gardner, our brothers and sisters in Cleveland who went on the high speed. I can't think of their names at this moment. We got our young brother Emmett Till at the bottom, and so on and so forth. And the list goes on and on and on and on. If black lives don't matter, then black dollars don't either. So we're calling for everyone to participate in this boycott. And hopefully by participating in this boycott, we can put a dent in the gross national product of this country. They usually, after Black Friday, they call it, and Black Saturday and Cyber Monday and all of this holiday spending, they come up or end up in the black, so to speak, because the majority of their retail sales are done during this holiday season. Black people account for $1.1 trillion in spending annually in this country. And so if we can get our people to participate and just take away from a fraction of that, we can make a huge difference. So we want everybody to participate again in boycotting Christmas. And if you want, what we're doing is we're meeting at a space locally in Denver every Thursday at 7 p.m. where we're strategizing and we're going throughout the community telling people about this boycott. But you can come to this community space called the Knowledge Cafe. And if you don't recall, this is the space that we were putting together a year ago. And thanks be to Allah, and thanks to a lot of our viewers and listeners for helping to donate to the campaign to make the Knowledge Cafe a reality. It's located at 1432 Poplar Street in Denver, and you can come by and have some coffee with us. We sit and we build and we strategize, and so far we've had some magnificent reception to the idea of boycotting Christmas. So that's where we at. That's where we at with it. Come to the Knowledge Cafe. Let me plug my other stuff, because we all about black business here as well. Come to Supreme Style Barbershop, the greatest barbershop in the land. Again, I'm Herman Muhammad, Herman Supreme Style Muhammad, located at 7520 East Colfax Avenue in Denver. You can call, set an appointment, go to our website, www.astar2.com. Also, go to your Google Play Store if you have an Android phone and download the Supreme Styles app. We got an app that's jumping off. It was in the iStore. I got to figure out what's going on with the Apple, but it's definitely in the Google Play right now, so you can go and download that. So again, visit Supreme Style Barbers and the Knowledge Cafe if you want to get in on this boycott Christmas. If you're about that life, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he didn't come up with this idea. This idea was really actually started by Dr. Martin Luther King. This was going to be his last lecture. He wanted to talk about redistributing the pain and economically boycotting Christmas. So don't think that this is a Muslim thing. This is a everybody thing. This is a thing to where we need to get together and show this enemy that we have economic power, and to make it known that black dollars actually do matter. Black lives matter, black dollars matter, everything that's black matters. Everything that we have suffered in this country as black and oppressed people, not just black people, but oppressed people throughout, we're demanding justice. And that's what the whole 20th anniversary of the Million Man March and the Justice or Else movement is about. And so this boycott of Christmas holiday spending is about justice, us receiving justice or else. And if we don't receive justice from these people, we're gonna make moves. Just suffice it to say, we're gonna make moves. So that's it, family. I just wanted to stop in and drop that on you. Pick up again the latest edition of the Final Call, Black Dollars Matter, as well as Black Girls' Lives Must Matter. And then there's another issue that's coming out, inshallah, in a couple of days. Pick that up. And you can subscribe digitally, again, to digital.finalcall.com. So, that's it, fam. Remember, stay black, stay strong. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Peace! And we out.
God doing the killing. Weapons of mass destruction. No power. You can't prepare for the shock of the hour.
The hour here represents war, chastisement, affliction, trial. The earth now is breaking out in little wars all over the earth. The hour is coming.
What's gonna make you understand what the shock of the hour is? Now that we know who the power is. Insurmountable stress, children with gray hair, and mothers leave their newborns right there. No cure, failed suicide. No food, vegetation died. You voted, politicians lied. So used to